Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're bringing you another great advanced lesson for all those advanced users out there.
That's right. This is a really, really useful lesson for all of our advanced users.
Exactly. You asked for a lesson about job interviews, and well, here we are. We're bringing you the first of 3 parts of the job interview series.
All right. So, Marco, you said it is the first of 3 parts.
Right.
So tell me, what are these 3 parts?
Okay, in this lesson, we're going to be looking at preparing for a job interview.
Okay.
So everything you got to do before the job interview.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 will be talking about your education, your background, your work experience.
Okay.
And in part 3, we'll take a look at some of the common questions that are asked at a job interview.
And so we'll talk about some great ways to answer these questions.
Exactly.
All right. These 3 lessons will be coming out over the next month or so.
Exactly. So we're going to be looking at part 1 today. So let's take a look at some vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Well, we have 3 words here in vocabulary preview that you'll hear in the dialogue in a moment. And the first one is actually not really a word, but an acronym.
Right. CRM.
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 So, Marco, you are our marketing guy. Tell us, what is a CRM?
Well, it's really common in marketing. It stands for Customer Relationship Management.
Okay.
Or Customer Relation Management. But basically, it's the relationship that the company has with its customers.
Okay.
So CRM basically has parts like feedback or customer support, problems that they might have, and also information about habits and likes and dislikes from their customers or users.
Okay, but I commonly hear this word used as a noun. So something like, can you check in the CRM?
Right, there is some software out there that's called the CRM. So Sugar CRM or many different softwares, which basically manages your database of customers. Basically software that englobes this whole thing.
Okay, got it. All right, our next phrase in vocabulary preview, custom designed.
Custom designed.
Custom designed.
Custom designed.
So when something is custom designed,
it means it's a special design just for you.
So it's unique.
Right. That's what the word custom means.
Unique, like made especially for one person.
Right. So you have custom designed or also custom made.
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot, for example, in cars, right? A custom made car.
Yes. Or maybe a custom built house.
A custom built house.
Yep.
With your specific likes and dislikes.
Yeah, your
color.
requirements. Yep.
Okay, and our last word, core values.
Core values.
Core values.
Core values.
So the core values of a company, what does the core mean actually?
The center.
The center, right?
Yep. So, and here I think it's like the center or the most important.
The most important things the company believes in, right?
Right. So maybe respect for the environment.
Okay. Or developing their employees. Okay. So the core values, the main things that the company believes in.
A great phrase for job interviews.
Oh, yes. Very good phrase. Okay. So why don't we listen to a dialogue? Erica, what exactly is happening?
All right. We're going to be listening to 2 friends. And this guy is getting ready to go on a job interview. So his friend is helping him to prepare.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go over everything one more time. I really want you to get this job.
I know, it's an amazing growth opportunity. They're true industry leaders, and it would be so interesting to be part of an organization that is the undisputed leader in business process platform development.
So let's see. You did your research on the company, right?
Wow, I visited the website and read up on what they do. They're an IT service company that offers comprehensive business solutions for large corporations. They provide services such as CRM development, and they also offer custom designed applications.
So what would be your role in the company?
Well, the position is for an account manager. That basically means that I would be the link between our clients and our development team.
Sounds good. And so why do you want to work with them?
Well, as I said, they're the industry leaders. They have a really great growth strategy, amazing development opportunities for employees, and it seems like they have a strong corporate governance. They're all about helping companies grow and unleashing potential. I guess their core values and mission really resonated with me. Oh, and they offer 6 weeks vacation, stock options, and bonuses. I'm totally going to cash in on that.
You idiot. You don't say that. Do you want this job or not?
All right, so he was doing great, but in the end, he said something he shouldn't, right?
Yeah, I don't think talking about money as your primary motivation for coming onto a new company is
Yeah,
really the way to
exactly.
go.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let's take a look real quick at some language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, in this lesson, we have 5 keywords for you from the dialogue, which we hope that you will remember.
Let's take a look at the first one. Undisputed.
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 So this is kind of a strange word. Let's listen to some examples before we explain it.
Example 1.
It's undisputed that she's the best person for the job.
Example 2.
The undisputed truth is that unemployment is rising. No one doubts that.
Example 3.
He's the undisputed champion of the world.
Well, I can understand from these examples that it means there is no doubt.
There is no doubt.
There's no
Exactly.
question.
Okay, now let's take a look at our second word, growth opportunity.
Growth opportunity.
It's a great growth opportunity
So it's an excellent chance to improve, right?
to improve professionally and also on a personal side, right?
Yeah. So talking about growth opportunities, we can also use the phrase a development opportunity
And it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? To develop, to grow.
to improve yourself.
Okay. Now let's take a look at our third word, read up.
Read up.
Read up.
Read up.
So when you read up on something,
Well, obviously you read it, right?
Right.
But you're reading it specifically for some information so you can know more about the subject.
so it's kind of similar to study, right?
Kind of, but really with the idea that you're trying to improve your knowledge about a particular field.
Okay. Now for our fourth word, unleash potential.
Unleash potential.
Unleash potential.
Unleash potential.
Okay, so to unleash.
All right. Well, I'm going to paint a picture for you.
All right.
So imagine you have your dog, right? Mm-hmm. And your dog is walking on a leash, like it has a string or a rope attached to it.
Right.
So then when you undo the leash, you unleash the dog, and then what happens?
It goes around and it's running. And,
Yeah, it's going everywhere.
Uh-huh.
So if you unleash potential, you release it and let it go and help it.
Grow and become
Yes.
bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
So you give it freedom.
Uh-huh.
So potential is the capabilities or abilities that a person has, right?
Yes.
To do something great. Okay. Unleash potential.
This, I think, is an excellent word to use in a job interview. I think it is really descriptive and really powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Okay, so let's take a look at our last one now. Resonate with.
Resonate with.
Resonate with.
Resonate with.
So he mentioned this really resonated with me. So what does he mean by resonated?
I guess he means it connected to him, right? It touched him.
So he agrees with this idea or he feels that he can relate to it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think this one needs a few examples to really show its meaning.
Okay, let's listen.
Example 1.
The candidate's speech really resonated with the voters.
Example 2.
Their music doesn't really resonate with me.
Example 3.
Their commitment to fight global warming resonates with me.
All right, so it's clear now to resonate with, right? Okay, so why don't we go and listen to our dialogue for the last time, and then we'll come back and give you some great pointers about preparing for a job interview.
Okay, so let's go over everything one more time. I really want you to get this job.
I know, it's an amazing growth opportunity. They're true industry leaders, and it would be so interesting to be part of an organization that is the undisputed leader in business process platform development.
So let's see. You did your research on the company, right?
Wow, I visited the website and read up on what they do. They're an IT service company that offers comprehensive business solutions for large corporations. They provide services such as CRM development, and they also offer custom designed applications.
So what would be your role in the company?
Well, the position is for an account manager. That basically means that I would be the link between our clients and our development team.
Sounds good. And so why do you want to work with them?
Well, as I said, they're the industry leaders. They have a really great growth strategy, amazing development opportunities for employees, and it seems like they have a strong corporate governance. They're all about helping companies grow and unleashing potential. I guess their core values and mission really resonated with me. Oh, and they offer 6 weeks vacation, stock options, and bonuses. I'm totally going to cash in on that.
You idiot! You don't say that. Do you want this job or not?
Okay, so preparing for a job interview is really important, right?
Yes. Yep.
And we're going to give you some really basic tips about how you can prepare for a job interview.
Yep. I got to confess something to you, Marco.
What?
I love job interviews.
Really?
Yeah, I know it's really weird. Most people hate them, but I love them.
So you love being the interviewer or going to job interviews?
Both.
Really?
Yeah. I like everything about them. So I feel like I have a lot of passion to share with you about this.
All right, so let's take a look at the first point or the first tip that you can help us out with. So before you go to a job interview, you should do a little bit of research, right?
Right, and that's our first point. It's really important to know as much as you can about the company, their history, their product, their management style, just as much information as you can find out about how they work and what they do.
Uh-huh, and why do you think this is important?
Well, basically, you'll be asked about it in the interview.
Right.
And so if you show that you haven't prepared, you haven't done any research, you show that you don't care.
One of the best ways that you can impress in a job interview is to show that you know about the company, that important things like you know what kind of products they offer or what's their largest market.
Yep.
And I guess that really impresses the interviewer because
Yeah.
it shows that you are interested in this company and that you really want the job.
And that you are willing to do the extra work it takes to prepare yourself. Because I think that will show the interviewer that later on, when you're working for them, you'll do that extra work on the job.
Exactly. That's a really good point. So that's our first point, our first tip, to do some research.
Yes.
Now, you've done your research, you know everything about the company. What else should you do?
Once you've read up on the company, you've got to spend some time thinking about yourself. You've got to prepare to sell yourself to the company.
Okay. So to sell yourself, to really demonstrate them why you are the perfect person for the job.
Right, because a lot of people think about why they want to work for the company, right? Because they feel like they're aligned with the core values or the message of the company resonates with them. But what the interviewer really wants to hear is how you, the interviewee, is going to benefit the company. What are you going to bring to the company?
Right, and this is the most important part, is to know what are your skills, right?
Yes.
And it's not enough to just say, well, I am a great leader.
Yep.
Right? So if you are a great leader, you should be ready to give an example of how you have demonstrated to be a great leader, right?
Yes. All right, so maybe like an example, like I'm a really strong leader because in my previous job, I had the best JD Power ratings for employee satisfaction.
Okay. So you're actually showing with numbers or with
Yes.
facts that you are a great leader.
Yeah, so the key thing here, I think, is identify what your strengths and skills are. Think of specific examples. If you can, give numbers and show how you can bring this skill and your experiences to the new company.
And now, well, you're ready to sell yourself. You've done your research. Now, you have all of these things in your mind. You have to practice,
Yes.
right?
And a much overlooked stage in the preparation.
Yeah, a lot of people think it through. They write things down, but don't really practice.
Yeah. So I know you have a few tips about how you can practice interviewing effectively.
Okay, well, the first thing that you should do is use your friends.
Yeah.
Right?
They gotta be good for something.
Exactly. And well, probably your friends are also working at a company.
Yeah.
Maybe they're managers, or maybe they've interviewed someone before already. So you can set up a mini interview and have them pretend that they are the interviewer and ask you these questions, and you're trying to answer seriously. And I'm sure that your friends can give you some great feedback, maybe
Yeah.
what you did right, maybe what you did wrong. So that's a really good way. And another thing is also you can record yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. If you have a video camera or even a many people have a webcam like right in your laptop. Record yourself actually doing the practice interview with your friend.
And this is really useful because you can later see what you recorded and detect some of the things that maybe aren't really useful or good. You know, for example, posture is a really important aspect.
So what do you mean posture?
So the way that you are sitting down in your seat,
Yep.
how you are expressing yourself with your hands.
Yep.
Some people, they move a lot during the interview because, of course, you're nervous. So
Yeah.
maybe they're moving from side to side or playing with their feet or playing with something on the table or moving their hands in an awkward way. So those are the things that you have to watch out for.
Yes. So I guess it's really important to sit up straight and to show that you are powerful and in control.
And another really great thing is eye contact, right?
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier.
And why is eye contact so important?
If an interviewee maintains eye contact with me for like most of the interview, I feel like they have really good people skills.
In my opinion, I would say they have a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Right?
Yep.
Because if a person is looking down or not looking directly at you, it's either one of two things, in my opinion. It's either they are not confident enough with themselves or they are lying to you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Or also they don't have good people skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a problem in today's sort of knowledge-based economy.
Exactly. So it's really important to maintain eye contact. And one other really important thing related to eye contact posture is the handshake. When you get to the interview, it's really, really important to give a firm, good handshake.
So what qualifies as a firm, good handshake?
Well, you don't have to prove that you are ultra strong, right? So you don't have to squeeze the other person's hand really hard.
And like break their hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like a strength contest.
No.
A good firm handshake is squeezing normally, not too tight, not too loose.
Yeah.
But your entire palm, your entire hand has to be in contact with the other person's palm or hand.
Yes.
Don't give them the fingers,
Yeah.
some people give you only 4 fingers or half their hand.
Yeah, I hate that.
I hate it too. And this goes for men and for women
Yeah.
because a lot of women do this.
Yep. I call this the dead fish handshake.
The dead It is kind of like a dead fish or the dead hand handshake.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on this one.
Listen carefully to the story and try to understand every detail.
The night before my job interview, I couldn't sleep. My room was filled with the soft glow of my laptop screen, open tabs about the company blinking back at me like little warning lights. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but with pressure. This job was more than just a paycheck. It was a chance to start a new chapter in my life, one I had been working toward for years. I sat there thinking, where do I even begin? That's when I remembered something my mentor once told me. An interview is not about impressing them with who you want to be. It's about helping them see who you already are. So I started there. I opened a blank page and wrote the name of the company at the top. Then I asked myself, what I really know about them. That question was more important than I thought. Too many people go into interviews thinking they'll just talk about themselves. But the smartest candidates know this. If you don't understand the company, why should the company try to understand you? I searched the company's website, not just the homepage, but the About Us section, the blog, and even their social media accounts. That's where I saw a phrase they used again and again. empowering growth through technology. That one line told me so much. They weren't just selling software. They were offering progress, support, innovation. Right there, I found a golden expression for English learners. Read up on something. It means to do research, not just quickly look, but to carefully gather information so you understand it well. In your job interview, if you say, I read up on your company's recent projects, it shows you made an effort. That's impressive. While reading, I found out they had recently launched a CRM platform for nonprofits. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, a system that helps businesses track and manage interactions with clients. I didn't just memorize this. I thought about how I could talk about it in my interview, how I could connect it to my own experience. Here's a useful point for learners. When you want to talk about something meaningful to you, a great phrase is that really resonated with me. It means something touched you personally or made you feel connected. For example, I could say, your commitment to helping nonprofits really resonated with me because I've volunteered for education charities. That kind of personal connection makes your answer strong, memorable, and honest. Then I moved on to their core values. Every good company lists them. I found theirs: innovation, integrity, empowerment. Simple words, but powerful if used correctly. These are your clues. If you can show how your personality or work style reflects those values, you've already built a bridge. By now, it was close to midnight. My notes were filled with ideas, facts, and reflections. But I wasn't done. I opened my journal and wrote a simple sentence. Why do I want to work here? Not the perfect answer for an interview, just the truth. My truth. I wrote, because I want to grow in a place that challenges me. Because I admire the way they mix business with purpose. Because I believe I can bring value, not just take a salary. When I read those words back to myself, I knew I was ready to begin. Not just to answer their questions, but to show them who I was and why I belonged there. The morning of the interview, I woke up early, not because I had to, but because my brain refused to rest. My thoughts were spinning like a wheel. I kept asking myself, what will they ask me? What should I say first? What if I forget everything? But deep down, I knew the truth. Real confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from preparation. After breakfast, I stood in front of the mirror and began to practice. Not just random talking, but focused, deliberate speaking. I asked myself mock interview questions out loud. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work for our company? What's your greatest strength? It felt awkward at first, but I kept going. I didn't memorize answers. I practiced thinking clearly and speaking naturally. That's an important skill, not only in interviews, but in life. You don't need perfect grammar. What you need is clear, honest, thoughtful communication. One of the biggest mistakes people make in interviews is only talking about what they want from the company. A better strategy is to focus on what you can give. That's what the interviewer really wants to know. How will this person add value to our team? So I made a list of my key strengths. Not just general words like hardworking or team player. Those are too vague. I wanted real, clear examples. For instance, instead of saying, I'm organized, I wrote, in my last job, I created a new digital filing system that helped the team cut down 20% of processing time. Numbers make a big difference. They're specific. They show real impact. So here's a helpful phrase. I helped increase efficiency by, or I improved client satisfaction through. These phrases are powerful. They show that you don't just do tasks, you solve problems. Then I thought about one of the key questions that always comes up. What are your weaknesses? This one is tricky, but I had learned something useful. Honesty plus growth is the best answer. So instead of pretending I didn't have any flaws, I said, I used to be uncomfortable speaking in group settings, but I've been actively improving that by joining a weekly discussion club. Now, I'm much more confident in expressing ideas. That's a good structure. Identify the weakness. Show what you're doing to improve. Highlight the progress. Next, I recorded myself answering questions using my phone. Then I watched the video back, and wow, it was eye-opening. I noticed little things. My hands moved too much. I said, too often, and I wasn't smiling enough. These things matter. In interviews, your nonverbal communication can say just as much as your words. So I practiced again, sitting up straight, looking at the camera as if it were the interviewer. I practiced eye contact, even though I was alone. I practiced speaking with energy and clarity. I wanted to sound engaged, calm, and confident. And one more thing, the handshake. Even before a word is spoken, a handshake can create a strong first impression. I practiced mine too. Firm, not too strong, full contact with a hand, and a brief smile. It may sound simple, but it says a lot. I'm present, I'm prepared, and I respect you. As I gathered my printed resume, checked my outfit, and got ready to leave, I felt something new. Not fear, not anxiety, but readiness. I had done my research, practiced my words, sharpened my strengths, and calmed my nerves. Now all that was left was to walk in, shake a hand, and let my story do the talking. The office building stood tall, glass reflecting the morning sun like a mirror. I stood in front of the main doors, straightening my jacket, taking one slow breath in and one out. My palms were slightly sweaty, but my posture was strong. I reminded myself, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be prepared, respectful, and real. As I walked through the lobby and approached the reception desk, I smiled and said clearly, "Good morning. I'm here for an interview with Ms. Turner at 10 o'clock. This is one of those moments where tone and body language matter. You don't need to speak like a robot. Just be clear, friendly, and professional." The receptionist nodded. "Please have a seat. She'll be with you shortly." I sat down, placed my phone on silent, and kept my posture straight. Not stiff, just alert. Waiting rooms are not the time to scroll through memes or reply to group chats. Anyone might be watching, and everything you do in that space matters. It's a moment to show focus, patience, and calm. After a few minutes, a woman stepped into the room. "Hi, I'm Ms. Turner. Thank you for coming." I stood up, made eye contact, smiled, and offered my hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Turner. Thank you for having me." That simple interaction, eye contact, handshake, polite greeting, sets the tone. And believe me, it's powerful. She led me to a conference room. The walls were covered with inspiring quotes and images of team projects. We sat across from each other, and then it began. "Tell me a little about yourself," she said. This question sounds easy, but it's actually a test of how well you know your story. So I began. "I'm a problem solver by nature. I studied communications and worked as a support coordinator for 2 years, where I helped streamline internal reporting. I'm passionate about turning complex challenges into clear, practical solutions. Outside of work, I enjoy writing and learning languages. It keeps my mind flexible and creative. The key here is balance. Share who you are professionally, but give a little personal flavor too. It makes you memorable and human. She nodded. That's great. So, why are you interested in this position? This was my moment to connect everything I had learned. I replied, I read up on your company's mission and recent projects, especially your CRM systems for educational nonprofits. That really resonated with me because I've volunteered for community learning centers. I admire how your team uses technology not just for profit, but to empower change. I want to be part of that. The expression that really resonated with me worked well here. It showed that I wasn't just applying randomly. I had a reason, a connection, a purpose. She smiled. I appreciate that. And how do you handle pressure or tight deadlines? Another classic question, but I knew how to answer with structure. In my previous job, we had a major project fall behind schedule. I took the lead in reorganizing the timeline and communicating updates across teams. By keeping the focus on daily goals and checking in frequently, we delivered on time. I believe pressure is manageable when you stay organized and communicate clearly. The important thing here is to tell a short story with results. Saying, I work well under pressure isn't enough. You need to show it. Then came a tricky question. What would you say is your biggest weakness? I paused for a moment, then said, I used to avoid asking for help because I thought it made me look weak. But I've learned that strong teams rely on communication. Now, I make a point of asking early and offering help in return. It's made me a better team member. This is how you turn a weakness into a strength. Show self-awareness, show growth, and stay honest. The interview continued with a few more questions, but something changed. I felt at ease. We weren't just checking boxes. We were having conversation. That's what interviews are at their best. Two people seeing if they can build something together. As it wrapped up, she said, Do you have any questions for me? I was ready. Yes, I'd love to know what success looks like in this role after 6 months. What would make you say, we made the right choice? She looked impressed. That's a great question. I smiled, because in that moment, I wasn't just trying to get the job. I was already thinking like someone who wanted to do the job well. As I walked out of the building, the late morning sun warmed my shoulders, and for the first time in days, I exhaled with ease. The interview had gone well, better than I expected. But as I headed down the street toward the cafe where I had planned to sit and reflect, something hit me. The real power of preparation isn't just about getting a job. It's about becoming someone who is ready to grow. At the cafe, I ordered a coffee and sat by the window. I opened my notebook, not to study, but to write about what I had just experienced. That's one thing I always recommend. Write down what happened after your interview. It helps you remember what worked, what felt natural, and what you do differently next time. First, I wrote about the moment I felt most confident when I talked about my strengths and backed them up with examples. I had said, I'm someone who takes ownership of problems. And then I gave a real story from my last job where I stayed late for 3 days straight to help a client whose system had crashed. One thing that helped was using the expression, take ownership. It means to accept responsibility and act like something is your own. Employers love to hear that. It tells them you don't wait around for others. You lead. I also remembered something I noticed during the interview. My interviewer smiled and nodded when I used phrases like from my experience or in my previous role. These phrases are small, but they make your answers sound professional and structured. They show you've thought about your role in past jobs and can explain it clearly. Next, I wrote down the moment I almost tripped. I hesitated when she asked, "How do you handle feedback?" But I quickly recovered by saying, "I actually ask for feedback regularly. I believe it's one of the best tools for growth. I've learned to welcome both positive and constructive feedback, and I keep a journal of suggestions I've received so I could track my progress." Feedback. That's a big word in the workplace. And if you want to speak English fluently in professional settings, you should know how to talk about it. Try using phrases like constructive feedback or "I appreciate feedback because it helps me improve." I sipped my coffee and thought about the handshake at the end of the interview. It had been strong, firm, respectful, and confident. I thanked her sincerely. "It was a pleasure speaking with you. I really appreciate the opportunity and your time today." That sentence is a great example of polite, formal English. Use words like appreciate, opportunity, and your time. They show respect and gratitude, and they leave a professional impression. As I closed my notebook, something else came to mind. A feeling more than a thought. It was the realization that I had shown up as myself. I didn't try to sound overly smart or use big words I didn't understand. I stayed natural, polite, and focused on connection. That's a great lesson for English learners. Being fluent doesn't mean using complex language. It means using language naturally, with confidence, and in the right context. You can say, "I'm excited about this opportunity," instead of "I'm elated by this vocational prospect." Keep it real. Looking around, I saw other people on laptops, maybe working, maybe applying for jobs just like I had. And I felt something shift inside me. Not pride, not relief, but readiness. Ready to take the next step, whether I got the job or not, because I had learned something powerful. Every interview, every conversation, every effort to improve your English and present yourself well. These are steps forward. And I was ready to keep walking. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a new email notification. My heart skipped a beat as I read the subject line. "Thank you for your interview." I took a deep breath before opening it. The message was polite, professional, and short. It wasn't an offer, but it wasn't a rejection either. It was a note saying they were still interviewing other candidates and would let me know within a week. That might seem like a small thing, but I realized something important. Even after the interview, your job isn't finished. There's still one more step that many people forget, and it can make all the difference. I opened my laptop and began writing a thank you email. Just a few lines, but carefully written. Subject: thank you. Interview for account manager position. Body: Dear Ms. Turner, thank you again for taking the time to meet with me today. I enjoyed learning more about your team and the exciting projects at your company. Our conversation made me even more enthusiastic about the opportunity to contribute and grow with your organization. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need any further information. Best regards, Liam Carter. Now here's something every English learner should understand. A thank you note after an interview is not just polite, it's professional. It shows respect, gratitude, and attention to detail. And it gives you one last chance to leave a positive impression. I used simple but strong language. Thank you again for taking the time. I enjoyed learning more about. I'm enthusiastic about the opportunity. Phrases like these are polite, formal, and full of meaning. And they're useful not just in job interviews, but in many professional situations, emails, meetings, presentations. After sending the note, I gave myself time to reflect. Whether I got the job or not, I had done everything I could. I had researched, practiced, shown up prepared, and followed up respectfully. I had presented my best self. And that's something I wish more people understood about job interviews. They are not a performance, they're a conversation, a two-way connection. They're not just about proving you're good enough. They're about discovering if you and the company are a good match. While walking through the park later that evening, I thought about the journey, how much I had learned, not just about the company or the questions, but about myself. How I had gone from nervous and unsure to focused and confident, all by using the tools I already had: respect, preparation, good language, and a calm mind. In English, there's a phrase I love. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. It's true, and I had done my part. Whether or not they chose me, I had grown. I had become a stronger communicator, a more confident speaker, and a better version of myself. That's the gift of trying, the gift of showing up, and the quiet reward that comes from doing your best, even if nobody claps. Sometimes success isn't the job. It's the person you become while chasing it. 3 days later, I was sitting at my desk, casually checking my email between sips of tea when I saw it. The message I had been waiting for. Subject: congratulations. I stared at it for a moment, holding my breath. Then I clicked. The first line said it all. We're pleased to offer you the account manager position. My heart raced. I sat back in my chair and smiled, wide, real, and full of relief. It wasn't just happiness. It was the feeling of being seen, understood, and chosen. It was a reward for every late night of research, every awkward practice session, every second I spent building my confidence and sharpening my English. I closed my eyes and let it sink in. The job was mine. But more than that, I had proven something to myself, that I was capable of growing, of improving, of stepping into something bigger than my comfort zone. That moment reminded me of something I wish every English learner could feel. You don't have to be perfect to succeed. You just have to be genuine, prepared, and willing to improve. Looking back, I realized how much the language I used shaped the way I came across. It wasn't about fancy words or long sentences. It was about the right tone, respectful phrases, and clear ideas. Phrases like, I read up on your company. That really resonated with me. Would you mind if I shared an example? I appreciate your time today. These are small expressions, but they carry big power. They help me sound confident, respectful, and thoughtful, qualities any employer looks for. But what mattered even more than the phrases was the mindset. I went in with the goal not just to get the job, but to connect, to have a real conversation, to listen as much as I spoke, to share who I was, and to be curious about them too. That's the heart of communication. If you're preparing for your own interview or any big moment in life, remember this. Do your research. Understand the company and its values. Know your strengths. Be ready to explain them with stories and results. Practice your English out loud, with a friend, on camera. Pay attention to posture, eye contact, and your tone. And always follow up with gratitude. These steps aren't just part of the job hunt. They're part of becoming someone people trust and respect. As I began filling out the onboarding forms later that day, I thought about the journey that brought me there, not just the interview, but the growth it forced me to go through. And I realized something I'll never forget. Fluency isn't just speaking English. It's learning how to express yourself, connect with others, and carry your message with confidence.
My name is David. I am 28 years old, and I live alone in a small apartment on the third floor of an old building. It's not a big place, but it's quiet, and I like it. There's a small kitchen, a desk by the window, and a bookshelf full of novels, travel guides, and some old notebooks from college. Every morning, I follow the same routine. I wake up at 7:30 a.m. I make a cup of black coffee, no sugar, no milk, and toast 2 slices of bread. I sit by the window and look outside while I eat. Sometimes I see birds on the wires. Sometimes I see people walking their dogs. But most of the time, I just see the same quiet street. After breakfast, I turn on my laptop and start looking for jobs. I have been unemployed for almost 7 months. My last job was at a small printing company. I worked there for 3 years. I did a bit of everything, making copies, organizing files, answering phones. It wasn't a dream job, but I liked it. The people were kind, and the work was simple. But one day, the boss called us in and said the company was closing. Just like that, we were all out of work. Since then, my days have been slow and quiet. I search online for new jobs every day. I write cover letters. I update my resume. I click apply over and over. Sometimes I get a short reply that says, "We have received your application." But after that, nothing. No calls. No interviews. No second chances. I started to feel invisible. But then, something happened. It was a cloudy Tuesday morning in early October. The sky was gray, and the air was cold. I was sitting at my desk with my coffee, scrolling through job listings. I wasn't even expecting anything good. I had already sent 5 applications that morning. Then I heard a soft ding, an email notification. I clicked on my inbox. There it was, right at the top. Subject: Interview Invitation, Greenway Tech Company. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. My hands froze. My heart started to beat faster. Was it real? I opened the email. It said, "Dear David, thank you for applying for the office assistant position at Greenway Tech Company. We would like to invite you for an in-person interview at our main office. Date: Friday. Time: 10 a.m. Location: 45 Newton Street, 4th floor. Please confirm your availability by replying to this email. Best regards. Human Resources. Greenway Tech Company." I couldn't believe it. My eyes went wide. I stood up and walked around the room. I actually laughed out loud. I hadn't had a real interview in months. This was it, my first real chance. But after the excitement, the nerves came. I started thinking about all the things that could go wrong. What if I forget what to say? What if I wear the wrong clothes? What if they ask a question I can't answer? My stomach felt tight, like it was full of knots. But I didn't let myself panic. I took a deep breath and sat down again. I opened a new email and typed, "Dear Greenway team, thank you very much for the invitation. I confirm my attendance on Friday at 10 a.m. Best regards. David Lee." After I sent the reply, I felt a wave of energy. I wasn't just someone sitting at home anymore. I had a goal. I had a place to be. I had a company that wanted to meet me. I opened a new tab and started searching for Greenway Tech Company. I wanted to learn everything about them, what they did, what they cared about, what their office looked like. I read their website, their About Us page, their recent news. I knew I had only 3 days to prepare. So I made a plan. Day 1, learn about the company. Day 2. Practice interview questions. Day 3. Choose what to wear and get ready. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My mind was full of thoughts. I imagined walking into the office. I imagined shaking hands. I imagined answering questions with confidence. I also imagined failing. I imagined stuttering, forgetting what to say, feeling small and unsure. I didn't want to think about that, but I couldn't help it. Still, deep down, something inside me whispered, "You can do this, David. This is your chance. Don't let fear stop you." And that thought stayed with me all through the night. The next morning, I woke up early, before my alarm. It was still dark outside. The city was quiet. For a few minutes, I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. I said to myself, 2 days left. You have to be ready. After a quick breakfast, I opened my laptop and searched again. How to prepare for a job interview. There were many websites. I read articles, watched videos, and took notes. I wrote questions and answers in my notebook. Simple ones first. Tell us about yourself. Why do you want to work here? What are your strengths and weaknesses? I didn't know how to answer at first. I tried speaking the words out loud, sitting at my desk. My voice sounded weak, like I wasn't sure. So I repeated again and again until my answers sounded stronger. I even smiled while I spoke, even though I was alone. It helped me feel more confident. Then I wrote a short speech about myself. Something clear and easy to understand. My name is David Lee. I'm 28 years old. I studied business administration and worked at a printing company for 3 years. I enjoy helping people, solving problems, and working in organized spaces. I believe I would be a good office assistant because I'm careful, friendly, and a quick learner. I practiced that speech 10 times. I stood in front of the mirror, looked at myself, and said it slowly and clearly. At first, I felt silly. But after a while, I felt proud. I looked more confident than before. Later, I made a list of my clothes. I don't have many formal outfits, but I found a clean white shirt, dark pants, and a navy blue jacket. I tried everything on. I looked in the mirror again and thought, this looks okay. Not perfect, but clean and simple. I still wasn't sure about the shoes. They were a little old, but they were polished and dark. I decided they would have to do. On the second day, I practiced more. This time, I recorded my voice using my phone. I listened to myself. I noticed that sometimes I spoke too fast or too soft. I practiced slowing down. I practiced speaking with energy. I also made a list of questions to ask the company, just in case they gave me the chance. What does a typical day look like in this role? What are the most important skills for this position? What do you like most about working at Greenway Tech? I read somewhere that asking questions shows you are interested. I didn't want to just sit and say yes and no. I wanted to show them that I cared. That night, I went to bed with my notebook beside me. I couldn't stop reading it. I felt like a student before an exam. But this time, the exam was my life. The next morning, Thursday, I checked the weather. Sunny, no rain. That was good. I didn't want to show up wet or freezing. I looked up the address again. 45 Newton Street, 4th floor. I even used a map app to see how to get there. It said 25 minutes by subway. I made a plan to leave an hour early. I didn't want to be late. No way. Around lunchtime, I got a message from my friend Jason. We used to work together at the printing company. He asked how I was doing. I told him about the interview. He replied, "That's amazing, man. You'll do great. Just be yourself. They'll like you." That made me smile. I needed that. Later that evening, I sat on the couch with a cup of tea and looked at the city lights from my window. My apartment was quiet, but my mind was loud. Thoughts were flying everywhere. What if I make a mistake? What if they don't like me? What if I freeze? But then I remembered something my college professor once said. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you try, even when you are. That sentence stayed in my heart. I whispered it to myself, like a promise. Try, even when you are afraid. I went to bed early that night. I put my clothes on the chair, packed my documents in a small folder, and set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. Tomorrow was the day. The morning of the interview, I woke up before the alarm again. It was still dark outside, but I didn't feel tired. I felt awake. Nervous, yes, but also ready. Today was important. Maybe one of the most important days in my life. I took a deep breath and got out of bed. First, I showered. I used my best soap and brushed my teeth carefully. Then I stood in front of the mirror. I shaved my face, fixed my hair, and put on the clothes I had prepared the night before, a clean white shirt, dark pants, and my navy blue jacket. I looked neat. Not like a businessman, but like someone who wanted to do well. I made toast, but I couldn't eat much. My stomach was full of butterflies. I just drank a little water and looked at the clock. 7:15 a.m. The interview was at 10 a.m., but I wanted to be very early. I checked my bag again, folder, resume, ID card, notebook, pen. All there. I left the apartment at 8 o'clock sharp. Outside, the sun was just rising. The city was waking up. Cars passed by, people hurried on the sidewalk, and I walked to the subway station with my hands in my pockets, trying to stay calm. Inside the subway, I sat near the window. I repeated some of my answers in my head. My name is David Lee. I worked at a printing company for 3 years. I enjoy helping people. I must have said the same things 100 times in my mind. I arrived at Newton Street at 9:10 a.m. I was too early, so I found a bench near the building and sat down. I watched the people going in and out. Some wore suits, some looked very professional. I started to feel small again. I looked down at my shoes. Are they too old? Do I look okay? What if they think I'm not good enough? My hands were sweating. I took out a tissue and wiped them. Then I stood up and walked around the block once to calm myself. 9:30 a.m. It was time. I walked into the building. The lobby was modern and clean. There was a big glass door, a front desk, and plants in the corners. A woman at the reception looked up and smiled. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'm here for an interview with Greenway Tech. My name is David Lee." She checked her computer and nodded. "Great. Please go to the 4th floor. The elevator is right there." I thanked her and walked to the elevator. My legs felt like rubber. I pressed the button. The doors opened. I stepped inside and watched the numbers go up. 2, 3, 4. Ding. The doors opened to a bright hallway. I saw a sign, Greenway Tech, Main Office. I walked in slowly. The office was quiet and modern. There were white walls, wooden floors, and glass doors. A young man at the front desk looked up. "Hi, can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "I have an interview. My name is David Lee." Of course, he said. Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly. I sat down on a soft chair and looked around. There were people typing on computers behind glass walls. Everyone looked busy and professional. I felt out of place, like a stranger in a new world. After 5 minutes, a woman appeared. She was wearing a blue blouse and black pants. She looked friendly and confident. David Lee? She asked. Yes, I said, standing up quickly. Hi, I'm Maya, she said with a warm smile. I'll be leading your interview today. Please come with me. I followed her into a small meeting room with a round table and 2 chairs. There was a window with a view of the street below. Please have a seat, she said. I sat down. She opened a folder and smiled again. Well, thank you for coming in today. Let's begin. And just like that, the interview started. She asked the usual questions. Can you tell me about yourself? What do you know about our company? Why do you want to work here? I answered as calmly as I could. I tried to smile and keep my voice steady. I remembered my practice. I used the words I had repeated so many times. But there were also questions I didn't expect. She asked, "Tell me about a time you solved a problem at work." I froze for a second. My mind went blank. Then I remembered a moment at the printing company, when a big order got mixed up and I helped fix it. I told the story, trying to speak clearly and honestly. She nodded as I spoke. She wrote something down. Then she said, "What are your weaknesses?" Again, I had to pause. I didn't want to say something too negative. So I said, "Sometimes I worry too much about small details. I want everything to be perfect. But I'm learning how to balance that." She smiled. That's a good answer. Finally, she said, "Do you have any questions for us?" Yes, I said, opening my notebook. Can you tell me what a normal day looks like in this role? She explained everything. The tasks, the tools they use, the type of team I'd be working with. I nodded and asked one more question. What do you like most about working here? She thought for a second and said, I think it's the people. Everyone here wants to help each other. It's a very friendly place. That made me smile. After about 30 minutes, the interview ended. She stood up and said, "Thank you for your time, David. We'll be in touch soon." I shook her hand. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I left the office, walked down the hallway, back into the elevator, and out into the street. The sunlight was bright, and the wind felt cool on my face. I had done it. The interview was over. As I walked to the subway station, I didn't know if I would get the job. But I knew something else. I had faced my fear. And I was proud of that. After the interview, I went home and sat on the couch for a long time. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't open my laptop. I just sat there, thinking. The office was quiet, modern, and professional. Maya was kind. The questions were fair. I answered as best I could. I didn't say anything terrible. I hoped. But I couldn't stop thinking about every little thing. Did I talk too fast? Did I say too many times? Was my story about the printing order a good example? Did I smile enough? Too much? All evening, those thoughts filled my head. I made pasta for dinner, but only ate half. I went to bed early, but I couldn't fall asleep. I kept replaying the interview in my mind like a movie I had already watched 100 times. The next morning, I opened my email first thing. Nothing. Of course, I thought. It's only been one day. I made coffee, sat at the window, and tried to relax. The day was slow. I cleaned my apartment, did some laundry, and listened to soft music. I wanted to stop thinking about it, but my brain had other plans. The second day came. Still nothing. I checked my phone every hour. I even refreshed my inbox again and again, hoping something would appear. By the third day, I began to lose hope. Maybe they had already chosen someone else. Maybe they didn't like me. Maybe I wasn't what they were looking for. I tried to stay positive. I told myself, you did your best. You showed up. That's something to be proud of. But deep down, it still hurt not to know. Then on the fourth day, Friday, I was washing dishes when my phone rang. I froze. I dried my hands quickly and grabbed the phone. Unknown number. My heart jumped. I answered. Hello. Hello, may I speak with David Lee? Yes, this is David. Hi David, this is Maya from Greenway Tech. Time stopped. Hi Maya, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I just wanted to thank you again for coming in for the interview, she said. Of course. Thank you for the opportunity. She paused for a moment, then said, I'm happy to let you know, we would like to offer you the position of office assistant. For a second, I couldn't speak. Really? I said. Yes, she said, smiling through her voice. You gave a very thoughtful interview. We think you would be a great fit for the team. I felt like the room was spinning. I sat down on the chair next to the kitchen table. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to hear that. She explained the next steps. Paperwork. Start date. What to bring on the first day. I wrote everything down, though my hands were still shaking. After the call ended, I sat in silence. Then I laughed. Then I cried. Not loudly. Just quiet, slow tears. Tears of relief. Of happiness. Of feeling seen. For months, I had felt invisible. Lost. Like I was just floating from day to day without direction. But now, something had changed. I had a job. I had a place to go. I had a new beginning. 1 week later, I stood in front of the Greenway Tech office again. I wore the same jacket, the same polished shoes. But I felt different this time. I wasn't a guest. I was part of the team. I walked into the building, smiled at the receptionist, and took the elevator up to the 4th floor. As the doors opened, I felt nervous again, but this time, it was the good kind of nervous. The kind that means something is starting. Maya greeted me at the door. Welcome, David, she said. And just like that, a new chapter of my life began.
Thank you for being a part of the English Smart Podcast.